What do you think most people outside completely misunderstand about how big brands actually work?
The most popular misconception would be that all big brands have equally big budgets for activations, programs, and advertising.
What traits did the most successful people at Estee Lauder consistently have?
The most successful people at Estee Lauder always had drive, passion, and were really invested in what customers truly wanted.
If someone wants to build a long career at a brand like Estee Lauder Companies, what should they start optimizing for?
Those who stay curious, experiment, and pivot quickly will always have an edge.
So, hey everyone, thank you so much for joining in yet another session of Roaring Ladies of E-commerce. For those who are joining us for the very first time, a little bit introduction about our community. I'm Sonakshi, I'm the founder of Roaring Ladies of E-commerce. It's a community dedicated for folks such as you and me and like Robyn, women of the e-commerce ecosystem, and we are here to help us out, help each other, add value in terms of whatever capacity that's possible, whether it's helping leverage network to find a new job, or helping leverage a network to learn about some skill, or even if you're building your own brand, so understanding about the new e-commerce tools, what's happening in AI, everything. We cover everything in our community. So if you're new, in some time we'll also send out a link on our chat. Make sure to click on it. But otherwise, we have like a fantastic guest today with us, Robyn. She had an excellent run at Estee Lauder Companies for last 20 years, and she's here to join us, share her journey, share her learnings with us. We are super, super grateful for you, Robyn, to agreeing to spend time with us. Thank you so much for joining in today.
Oh, no, thank you. I'm honored to have been invited to share my experience with everybody, especially in the Roaring Ladies of E-commerce community.
Amazing, Robyn. So, guys, words are short of telling about what Robyn has achieved in last couple of decades, but I'll now leave up to Robyn. Robyn, if you can cover a little bit about your journey, your experience, some sentences about, how your experience has been at Estee Lauder. Our audience would love to hear that.
Of course. Hi, everybody. My name is Robyn Katzman, and I am the former director of Global Online for the Estee Lauder Companies. I've spent my entire 20-year career at Estee Lauder, primarily in the world of e-commerce, with some time in supportive roles prior to that. For the last 15 of those years, I've led digital and direct-to-consumer strategy for the prestige vegan hair care brand Aveda, driving double-digit growth within the digital space. My focus has been on the full e-commerce ecosystem, from platform optimization and global site rollouts to SEO, UX, UI, and CRM integration within strategic campaigns. I've built my approach around data-driven testing and analytics to create campaigns that don't just engage customers, but also deliver measurable ROI and conversion lift. I had a tremendous career at Estee Lauder. Obviously, 20 years is a large period of time, and I'm just so happy to have been invited onto this platform to share my experiences, my insights, and such. And again, this is things coming from my personal perspective based off of what I've seen. So yeah, I'm just really honored to be given this opportunity.
So much love to you, Robyn, and we all are super excited to starting this AMA. Again, for those who are new, this is our 11th episode of AMA session. We began this journey almost similar time last year when we started doing one session every month, and this is our 11th episode. And today, like Robyn said, she's here with us, and now we are getting started with all the questions that you guys submitted while registering for this session. So let's go, Robyn. Question number one is, after 20 years inside a global beauty company, what do you think most people outside completely misunderstand about how big brands actually work?
That's a great question. And based on my experience, there are actually a few common misconceptions that come to mind. First, and likely the most popular misconception would be that all big brands have equally big budgets for activations, programs, and advertising, when it's actually the opposite. For if you're a big brand, you have a world-renowned name in your favor, and you find yourself having to be scrappy, identifying areas to invest that will drive the most ROI while remaining on a fairly tight budget. This would impact all aspects of the business, including creative agency spend, paid search investments, or even promotions like gift with purchase or free shipping thresholds. Second, being that large brands have unlimited resources. Speaking as part of an e-commerce team, part of being such a large corporation and company with over 25 brands, even if you're a top 5 brand, which Aveda was, or it still is actually, is prioritizing and waiting your turn for any new updates, enhancements, or programs that would be integrated into your site. Based on the level of effort, certain projects can take weeks, months, or even a better part of a year to fully execute because all brands have shared resources. Just like any team at any large or small company, prioritizing and identifying what's going to have the greatest impact to drive the brand forward truly matters in the long run. Last but certainly least, a common misconception is that everything moves quickly. More often than not, projects, campaigns, product launches, approvals, etc., go through a multitude of teams and people before anything is truly consumer facing. From marketing, creative, operations, finance, legal, and online, there wasn't a lack of red tape to cut through for approvals and sign off before going live. For any campaign, project, or program that I personally worked on, I'd have to go through at least 10 to 15 people for sign off, including multiple rounds of reviews. If something was truly urgent and critical, we would obtain alignment from senior leadership who would then weigh the pros and cons of expediting going through proper channels, but that would be the exception and certainly not the rule in those matters. So yeah, those would be a couple of misconceptions that I feel people have within large beauty companies.
Absolutely, Robin. And just to follow up on this, does this long chain of approval or anything new that you want to get started with, since it takes so much time, did it also ever felt that, it's difficult to compete with new emerging brands in the same category because they are catching up on innovation really fast?
Of course, yes, absolutely. I mean, you would look at a roadmap of like 1 to 2 years out, and just being part of the digital marketer too, you really need to be agile and really implement some of those like those best practices that are coming about in real time and integrating into those strategies and such too, which I can touch upon in another question a bit more specifically.
Absolutely, Robin. Moving on to our next question from the audience. What decision felt risky in the moment but turned out to be the right long-term call?
Great question. In partnership with our North America Online Regional team and our corporate digital product marketing and activation team, I know quite the mouthful, it was recommended that we create an alternate hero collection product landing page, prioritizing conversion driving content, specifically targeting new consumers from the paid search channel that may not have known about the brand or the products upon navigating to that page. My personal hesitation was having two extremely similar PLPs, because again, this was an additional, not in lieu of a replacement, but having two extremely similar PLPs with practically the same content, copy, and shoppable products live at the same time, just structured differently, where both were essentially competing for the same SEO ranking, which may cause confusion within search results should both pages appear as options. After about 3 months of being live with this new page, the new PLP overachieved conversion rate goals by 28%. It increased engagement by 50% and it reduced bounce rate by 30%. Taking these incredible metrics into consideration, it was decided collectively to actually sunset the existing branded collection PLP layout and drive all customers, both repeat and new, to the new conversion focus page. This also served as a new template structure for all collection PLPs moving forward, where we saw similar results once executed.
Amazing. And how long did it take you guys to figure out, okay, the new PDP page working really well?
It was actually a pretty scrappy and short-term goal. I believe it was turned around within a week or two based off of recommendations. So yeah, it was in the moment. They saw a need that was recommended to our team. We collectively worked together. And again, it was really just identifying what content we already had and integrating it and prioritizing some of the top level content formatted differently, which was essentially a very similar page, just a different layout.
Got it. Got it. We just got a question on chat, which was,
I
oh,
see. Yes,
yeah. So I think the
of
answer to
course.
that is the change in just the format, or probably.
Correct. It was format, it was copy specifically. So really elevating the layman's terms, like new customers really need you to get to the point as quickly as possible without really having to filter through and learn on a large scroll. So the page was structured in a way that was very clear, very obvious in the setup of products because it was a product landing page. There was multiple products, and because it was for a particular collection, and being that I was hair care focused, first step would be shampoo, conditioner, second step would be masking, and then the styling products and such. Like really executing and formatting the page. So it was more of a step-by-step how-to regimen with then how-to content, videos, before and afters, some of those assets that we already had on the other page, but it was just formatted differently and not as intuitive to somebody who does not know anything about your brand.
Got it. Makes sense, Robin. Moving on to our third question. What's the biggest mistake smart, hardworking people make that stops them from growing into leadership roles? Amazing question.
Yeah, no, these are all wonderful questions, and I have to say that everything was sent to me in advance. So I'm very prepared for all questions. But so the biggest mistake that I've personally seen is when people don't advocate for their own career growth, especially when you're just starting out in your own professional career. They hope their manager recognizes their hard work and dedication, and generally have the mentality of their work should speak for itself. That in itself might be true. However, you're your own biggest advocate. My personal suggestion would be to keep track of your wins, expressing that you want to be challenged to your direct manager, and being prepared to take on more responsibilities so you can grow into a leadership position and have those facts on hand to really support your growth objective. With that, I'd also recommend taking note of people within your network or team in those leadership roles and identifying traits of what actually makes them a great leader. I feel like it's safe to say that we've all had a bad boss or a leader who you wish would do something differently. That's equally important to take note of. So you know those were qualities that you didn't necessarily appreciate and wouldn't want to do to someone else as you advance in your own career. In my experience, being decisive, supportive, challenging yet fair are all qualities that make a good leader. If you're also kind on top of all that, I feel that that's what really stands out and makes you a great leader.
Absolutely, Robin. And especially if you're a woman, you have to advocate yourself. Usually, there is this mindset of being little modest, not speaking more about how much hard work we have put in. So as a woman, I totally agree, Robin. It's the one of the most important qualities to have. Moving on to next, if someone wants to build a long career at a brand like Estee Lauder Companies, what should they start optimizing for?
So becoming part of a large parent company, it's really not about the skills that you really possess, but also about how you understand and what sets that company and brands they include apart. At Estee Lauder, it was about understanding luxury, brand heritage, and winning in the long game. So start understanding the customer in the luxury retail space. Luxury in beauty is defined as prestige, and it's everywhere, whether you're at a retail store counter, online, or discovering a brand through influencers on social. People who genuinely understand their consumers can translate those insights into and take action. Each brand also has a respective DNA and heritage, which make it unique in its own way. The best people can honor what's worked for that brand since its inception, but can also evolve within the digital, direct to consumer, and social channels to tell the brand story, pushing the company forward. Beauty customers will adapt with storytelling. They'll reach a younger demographic while still retaining original customers as they all grow together. Large corporations such as Estee Lauder Companies that own multiple brands also share insights, wins, and challenges so everyone within the company can learn from each other while respecting each brand's unique position. A corporate online team hosted a monthly sharing is caring session where all brands were encouraged to share insights, and so brands could either strategize on how to implement those programs or learn from challenges and what did not work and why. What I learned at Estee Lauder is that people who build long careers there don't just want a job, but they genuinely love beauty. They respect the heritage of the corporation and want to be part of building brands that also last for generations.
Got it, Robin. Absolutely. You need to have that passion for beauty as well if you're joining a company that's beauty first. Totally agree. And what do you think are top three skills that actually compound over 10, 20 years, even as tools, platforms, and trends that keep changing?
Absolutely. And this is this question that I was touching on in my previous one, because first and foremost, being agile is one of the most important skills to have as a digital marketer. With new tools, platforms, and trends changing, especially in the digital space, one has to learn, adapt, and implement without hesitation. Those who stay curious, experiment, and pivot quickly will always have an edge. Whether it's being comfortable with AI tools, new social platforms, emerging technologies, or shifting customer behaviors, you'll continuously stay ahead of the curve. Second would be to be concise with clear, direct, and persuasive messaging. It's key to any successful campaign, activation, or promotion. You generally have 3 seconds to grab a customer's attention, so you really need to make the most of those moments. This would include copywriting, storytelling, emotional triggers, and the ability to craft compelling messages across any medium. Platform changes, but understanding what motivates people, how they make decisions, and what resonates with them does not. But lastly, being a strategic thinker is key. You can interpret data, identify patterns, and make informed decisions, and you're golden. Tools will undoubtedly change, but understanding how to set KPIs, analyze performance metrics, and optimize based on insights will always be crucial in this particular realm. This also includes knowing what metrics actually matter while also being able to tell the story with the data.
Absolutely. Just a follow-up, Robin. So at Estee Lauder, were you guys setting up quarterly KPIs or annual KPIs? And how many KPIs usually a person or a leader is able to take ownership of on a quarterly basis?
Yeah, so we would have a monthly report that would be sent up to senior leadership covering all of the short-term and long-term KPIs. So in the short term, we would always take a look at, of course, sales revenue, conversion rate, bounce rate, more of the site brand health. But then we would also have a brand health tracker that really identified a lot of the key areas of the site, especially those that were more brand focused, like the About Us or a quiz or things that didn't necessarily drive the full ROI and the conversion, but really made the brand what set it apart, especially being a salon focused channel. We had retail stores, a retailer and third party platform presence, as well as direct to consumer. So we would take a look at engagement, how long people would spend on that site, the scroll depth, how are they interacting, heat mapping and such, of like where people were actually navigating and where would they bounce from the site? Would they make it all the way to checkout? Would they go to find a location? Like where does that actually go? How many people are signing up for your newsletters and such? Taking a look at CRM activations as well, click-through rate, sales that were incorporated from that particular CRM. And we would take a look at both the short-term and big picture goals to identify also areas of opportunity as well as each month and every quarter. And then, of course, every year goes by. And then also taking a look at some of those key bestsellers or our hero collections, that what we call them internally, to understand how they were performing, especially during a promotional period in terms of like a site-wide discount, or even a promotional period in terms of there was a campaign that was tailored to that particular messaging to see the lift of sales and engagement within those particular products.
Got it. Super interesting, Robin. A follow-up in a way to your last question is, what traits did the most successful people at Estee Lauder consistently have?
So, in my experience, the most successful people at Estee Lauder always had drive, passion, and were really invested in what customers truly wanted. The company motto was bringing the best to everyone we touch. The slogan reflects the commitment to creating like a positive impact and uplifting others through its products and its initiatives. The same can be said for most of its successful people based on what I've personally seen. These people were self starters who take initiative and pursue opportunities. They have a genuine love for the beauty industry, making people feel confident and beautiful, translating this into their work and relationships. They also understood consumer emotions and making decisions guided on what's best for them. When Estee Lauder first created the brand back in the 1940s, she created these high touch moments, physically going to store, asking customers what they wanted, demonstrating the products on customers herself, and also introduced the first ever gift with purchase, understanding that trial is everything in this business. So, yeah, I think that's what the most successful people within Estee Lauder continuously have.
Yeah, so from what you said, the founder was very important of having a trial in this business.
Mhm.
How do you guys were ensuring that when it comes to online or e-commerce as a channel?
In terms of trial and promotionality and such,
Yeah.
I mean, just it's table stakes. Trial is everything. Free samples, free products, and such really have that driver, especially introducing those customers to something new. There was a gift with purchase that is more common within like the Estee Lauder and the Clinique brands that fall under the Estee Lauder portfolio, but other brands had also introduced some additional aspects like PWP, which was called purchase with a purchase. So if you spent a certain threshold, a collective curated product assortment would be available for you at a reduced price, to enhance those particular customers to try it out themselves. There would also be like surprise and delight, where if customers purchased a certain product and we had a certain sample on hand that was complimentary of that particular product, we would throw it in your particular order as a surprise and delight in hopes of you trying it out, loving it, and ultimately coming back to purchase. So that trial is extremely important, especially amongst beauty brands, because people are genuinely pretty hesitant to try something and purchase something at full price if they have no idea what they're purchasing. They don't know how they like it or how they're going to react to it and such, or if the product is truly right for them. So that trial is equally as important as it was in the 1940s as it is today.
Yeah, it's core to the Estee Lauder business. This is amazing, from a perception point of view, Robin, it feels like probably apparel as a category is where, people expect a trial, but when it comes to beauty, when you explained it, it felt even more, evident that it's a business that relies on trial as something that people would like to start with. This is amazing. Last question from audience because we are almost there on time, and then we'll move on to a rapid fire section. So quickly, what can an upcoming brand take from Estee Lauder's strategy and adapt for themselves right now?
What's interesting about Estee Lauder is that many of their core principles aren't about having like a huge budget. They're about discipline and long-term thinking. Here are a few things smaller brands can absolutely implement today. Obsess over your brand DNA and protect it at all costs. Estee Lauder doesn't chase every trend. Each brand in their portfolio had a clear identity and positioning. For up and coming brands, there is pressure to be everything to everyone or pivot with every single trend. Define your non negotiables early, what they stand for, who they serve, what makes them different, and they don't compromise for the short term gains. Consistency always builds equity. Dive deep with your core customer. Estee Lauder knows that customers intimately, and they don't try to appeal to everybody. Smaller brands should really do the same. Find your particular tribe, understand them better than anyone else, and build everything around them, serving them exceptionally well. Invest in experience, high touch moments, not just the product. So Estee Lauder built its empire on the beauty counter experience, that personal touch, the consultation. And at Aveda, it was the ritual. Today's version of that is your direct to consumer site, your unboxing moment for holiday, online quizzes and consultation tools, your customer service network, and community building. Make every touch point feel premium, even if you're on a tight budget. Build for longevity. Estee Lauder thinks long term. The 3 and 5 year strategy for them is very, very real. Even if you're a startup, ask, will this decision make me stronger in 5 years, or is this just helping me serve this quarter? That mindset shows up in everything: product quality, sustainable sourcing, and how you partner with retailers. For instance, at Aveda, the brand was built on its high performance, sustainable, naturally derived ingredients and values before it even became trendy. And that's why it lasted. Lastly, the test, learn, and scale approach. Estee Lauder Companies is known for testing in smaller markets or channels before rolling out globally. Smaller brands can do this too. Launch with a limited SKU count, test messaging on a small audience, adjust based on what resonates. Too many brands try to scale before they figure out what actually works. Be patient with growth, be obsessed with the learning that goes along with it. The truth is, Estee Lauder's biggest advantage was not their budget, because as we said, they don't have the large budgets that are a common misconception. It's really their patience and their discipline. They play the long game. Emerging brands can absolutely adopt that mindset. And even if they can't match the resources, the brands will still be around in the next few decades, are the ones making the kind of decisions today that build them up for success. The one thing that Estee Lauder Companies is doing right now that smaller brands should watch closely, they're integrating AI and personalization into their customer service at scale. You don't need their tech stack to start personalizing your email, your site experience, or your product recommendations. You can start small, but the most important element is to start now.
This is amazing, Robin. One last question, which we ask to every guest that we bring to our AMA session, is one piece of advice that you would like to give to all the women out here, especially those young entrepreneurs or young people who have just started out in the e-commerce ecosystem space, and that advice that would, also make them think long term and go a long way.
Absolutely. My one piece of advice was to continue learning. You don't have to learn everything. You don't have to be an expert in everything, but just keep learning, especially within the world of e-commerce, digital marketing, and such. This particular profession, I'm dating myself because, again, 20 years at one company is a tremendously long time. But 20 years ago, this profession was not a major at my college. I majored in communication, which included marketing, public relations, and such. Online was in its infancy. So you can only imagine what the next 20 years will be like down the road. And you have to keep moving with the times and learning and leaning into those particular functionalities, platforms, optimizations, and such. I mean, look at AI. AI has taken over everything. I feel like the past year, you can't ignore it. 3 years ago, people were just kind of dipping their toe into everything and just trying to learn what they could through ChatGPT, and then it's just exploded. And that is the key takeaway is just don't make yourself irrelevant by not learning and leaning into these platforms that are definitely being integrated in everything that you do as a digital marketer, but really hone in, experience, and learn it. So just keep learning and you will be set up for success.
Absolutely, Robin. The world is changing super fast, and especially in last couple of years, it's just AI has flipped every table, and it's going to move even faster in coming months. Thank you so much, Robin, for joining in today. Everyone loved the insights that you have shared. Super helpful. One very key important key takeaway for me, and I think for the community is about thinking long term, thinking high touch point ways of expanding into your clientele. And lastly, spending 20 years in a company is not a small thing to be achieved at. So it's a huge milestone, Robin. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my insights and my experience with this lovely group of roaring ladies of e-commerce. And thank you for creating such a wonderful community of like-minded professionals, really leaning into the world of e-commerce and especially tailoring it to women.
Thank you so much, Robin. And to everyone out here, Robin is part of the community. If you have further more questions, I'm pretty sure I could not cover all of them today, but feel free to reach out to her on Slack. She is available.
Yes, please do. I'd be happy to connect with everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.